Hello, my name's Ruth and I'm a 37-year-old woman. I recently got custody of my nieces and I want to share with you how that came to be. But before I get into all that, let me introduce you to my husband Harry and his sister Melissa. Now, I met Harry about 10 years ago. We happened to meet through some mutual friends and we quickly took a liking to each other. He was the perfect person for me, and after 4 years of dating, we decided to tie the knot. We bought a house together and things were going great for us. We were doing well career-wise and we lived very comfortable lives. Enter Melissa, Henry's sister. According to Henry, Melissa had always been somewhat of a mess. She was almost always in some sort of trouble or the other when they were growing up. When she was 21, she ended up dropping out of college because she didn't feel the need to continue her education. She stayed with her parents who let her stay there rent-free, so she never really found a job for herself. She lived with her parents until she was 27 when she got pregnant by her then boyfriend. However, her boyfriend lived about 6 hours away from us, so she decided to move closer to where he was. Melissa ended up being pregnant with twins. She gave birth to 2 girls named Daisy and Jasmine. They were the cutest kids I had ever seen. Henry and I tried our best to visit them whenever we could. While Melissa still never had a stable job, she worked odd jobs to keep money rolling in considering they had twins to take care of. Everything was going pretty well for 6 years until one day Melissa showed up at our door sobbing hysterically. Henry was the one to open the door and he was shocked to see her crying. "Melissa, what's wrong? Is everything okay?" "Oh my gosh, come in. Brad is divorcing me." "What? How come?" I don't know. He's been depressed for a while and I noticed that the only time he was happy was when he was at work." "Uh-huh. I know it was wrong, but I thought that he was probably seeing someone at work behind my back." "Oh, Melissa." "I know, I messed up. He did not take my concern well. He thought I was accusing him of cheating on me. He stopped talking to me for a while, and then before I knew it, boom, he just asked for a divorce after you asked him a question once?" "Well, I didn't ask him the question once only. I kept badgering him and accusing him of cheating on me whenever I could. I guess all of that boiled over and he couldn't remain with me." "Okay, well, what's done is done. Let's focus on what we have to do from here on. Who's getting custody of the girls?" "I'm going to get full custody of my girls. I'm not letting that jerk get anything, since he can leave me over something so tiny." "I don't mean to sound rude, but are you sure that it would be best for you to have full custody of the girls?" "What do you mean? Are you saying that I should leave the girls with their absent father?" "No, Melissa. What she's trying to ask is if you're going to be able to raise them when you don't have a job or anything to fall back on." "I'm going to fight for child support and alimony from Brad, and I'm going to get a job at your local diner right after I move back here." "Oh, okay, that's a plan for sure. Where are the girls right now? How are they?" "Well, they're devastated. They want to spend as much time as they can with Brad." "Okay, why don't you spend the night here, and then we can figure everything out tomorrow." "And Melissa, if you need anything from here on, feel free to ask us. You're our family." "Thank you so much. This means a lot to me." I'm not going to lie and say that I wasn't worried about how things were going to pan out. I mean, I wasn't holding out much hope for Melissa, but she was my family and I wanted to support her. Over the next few weeks, Henry and I helped Melissa find a place of her own. Melissa and her boyfriend had been in a fierce divorce battle, and eventually Melissa managed to squeeze alimony and child support out of her boyfriend. He, in turn, was so mad that he decided that he wanted nothing to do with Melissa or his children. And so that was the end of Daisy and Jasmine's relationship with their father. I helped Melissa find a job in our area. I had a few friends who worked in various food joints, and a lot of them were more than willing to help Melissa because she was my sister-in-law. For the first time, I saw Melissa actually working hard. Henry and I would go over to her place almost every day to check in on her and the girls. She seemed to be doing fine, except that she always looked tired. I kept reminding her that if she needed anything, I'd be there to help her out. She didn't take me up on my offer immediately, but about 3 weeks after she moved to our area, she finally came to my door one day and asked me for help. "Oh, hey, Melissa." "Hi, Ruth. Look, I'm so sorry, but I really need your help." "Of course. What do you need help with?" "I have to cover a few more shifts ever since, I've barely any time to be at home, let alone take care of the girls." "I can't imagine what it must be like for you." "Right. So I was wondering if I could drop the girls off here for a few hours. I'll be back to pick them up as soon as I'm done with work." "You want to drop them off right now?" "Yeah, I can't afford a babysitter. What am I talking about? I can barely even afford to feed all 3 of us. Do you think you could help me over the next few months as well?" "Yes, of course. Anything to make your workload lighter. Although I would appreciate it if you gave me a time schedule for when you expect me to look after the girls." "About that, I know that this is a big ask, but I was wondering if you could watch them every day from around 2 in the afternoon to 8 in the evening." "That is a big ask. My shift starts at 2:30 and I can't really do anything, Ruth. Please, I really need your help." "Fine, but you cannot keep relying on me to babysit the girls every day. I love them to bits, but I am not their parent. You need to come back as soon as your shift is over, got it?" "Of course. You're a lifesaver. I promise to find a way to pay you back for helping me out so much." "Nonsense. You just get back on your feet and provide a better life for yourself and the girls. Now, where are the girls?" "They're in the car. I'll be back by around 8, if that's okay." "Of course. I'll feed them dinner too. Any allergies that I should know of?" "Nope. They're good to go." "All right then. Call them over." Melissa and I worked out an arrangement after that day, since not only did the girls enjoy their time with me, but it also gave Melissa peace of mind when it came to the safety of her children. Melissa would drop the kids off at my place every afternoon, an hour or so after I returned home from work. She would then pick them up at around 8 p.m. I fed and bathed the girls and also made sure they did their homework. I loved it. Henry and I never really took the idea of having our own kids seriously, but taking care of Daisy and Jasmine made me feel like I was doing something that I was always meant to do. It felt like I had finally found what I felt was always missing from my life. I mean, I know that kids are bigger commitments, but I really did begin to entertain the idea of asking Henry if we should look into either trying to have a child or even adoption. Anyways, this arrangement of Melissa and I's continued for the next 3 months. It became routine at some point, and I was happy with it, and so were the girls. If I'm being totally honest though, a huge part of me did feel bad that Melissa always spent all her time working. For some reason, she never got any weekends off because she needed all the extra hours she could get in order to make more money. I knew that she had 2 girls to look after, and that only made me sadder because she was so busy working that she was missing out on watching her children grow. Henry and I were constantly talking about how we wanted to help Melissa out, but every time we tried to broach that topic with Melissa, she'd freak out and accuse us of shaming her for being poor. Eventually, we just stopped and decided to let things carry on the way they always did. However, I did begin to notice something over the months since the arrangement was made. Daisy and Jasmine would always seem so hungry when they came over to my place. I'm talking eating like a pig kind of hungry. They'd eat almost every hour, and while I was never one to say no to them regarding food, I was very concerned about how famished they were every single day. They seemed lethargic all the time and constantly took naps because of how full they were from all their food. I never commented on it because I didn't want to shame the girls, but I made sure that I stacked my pantry with only healthy, nutritious food so that at least the girls were not hurting their bodies. One particular day, the girls came over and ate 2 huge bowls of pasta, and only an hour and a half later, they each ate 2 yogurt parfaits. I was genuinely getting concerned, and while they were napping, I contemplated bringing it up with them. But when they woke up, they asked me if we could do some art together. I took them to the park and we had a little picnic art date. When we got back home, Melissa took the girls back home and thanked me for taking care of them. Henry was working late that day and only got back home an hour and a half after the girls had left. After he freshened up, we sat down to have dinner together. He asked me how Daisy and Jasmine were. "How were the girls today?" "They were sweet. They wanted to do some art today, so I took them to the park and we painted for a while. Then I got them some ice cream, which made them very happy. So all in all, it was a good day." What kid wouldn't be happy with ice cream? I know that when I was a child, I would beg to have ice cream every single day. It's not like you still don't do that. Hey, it's not my fault that I crave something sweet and cold every day. Okay, but I have to discuss something that's been bothering me for a while now. Oh, what's it about? Well, I didn't think much of it at first, but I think Melissa is struggling more than she's letting on. What do you mean? It's just that the girls always look like they're starving whenever they come over. They wolf down their food like they haven't eaten in a day. I mean, is it possible that they just have faster metabolism since they're kids, which makes them hungry faster? I did think about that, but this is very different. That was the only thing I noticed at first, but then I noticed how they'd eat so much in one sitting, way more than they used to when they first started coming over. That does seem odd. Yeah, I'm really concerned about the way they're living. Do you think we could talk to Melissa about this? Maybe offer to help her out a little? No, you know what she's like. She's got a pretty big ego, and suggesting helping her when she's struggling is going to make her angry. I know, but I just really want to do something for those kids. This is exactly how people develop eating disorders and all the health complications that come with it. You're right. But we need to do things a little differently. What if you just cooked extra food for them to take home for dinner and breakfast? That's a brilliant idea. I'll also toss in some snacks in case they get hungry before they get here. Yeah, I'm sure they'll be beyond grateful for your help. What about Melissa? Do you think she'll be offended? Well, I doubt she will be. We're only giving them food, which we can play off as leftovers. I'm sure that she'll be grateful for our help. Okay, that's good. I'll make some extra food starting tomorrow. After that conversation with Henry, I began to make extra food and keep them in separate containers in the fridge so I could give it to the girls. I made sure that I played off the food as leftover food. At first, Melissa did look offended that I was giving them leftover food, and she did try to pick a fight with me for it. But eventually, she just let it go and accepted the food without saying anything about it. I kept that up for a while, and the girls were finally looking healthier, and they seemed happier than before. They had so much more energy to do all the things they needed to do, and I was happy to see them thriving. One day, the girls came over and immediately after lunch fell asleep because they had a tiring day at school. I had nothing better to do, so I decided to go check on Melissa. I figured if I was a customer, she wouldn't mind me tipping her and helping her out that way. Besides, I also wanted to meet my friends, Riley. Riley was a long-time friend of mine, and she was the first to respond when I asked my friends if they could help Melissa find a job. Riley was the manager of the restaurant she worked at. I figured that since Melissa had been working there for long enough, it wouldn't be any harm to ask her if she could give Melissa a raise. When I walked into the diner, Riley was standing at the counter. She looked surprised to see me there, and she walked up to me and greeted me with a big hug. Riley, hi. Oh my gosh, Ruth, it's been a long while since we met. How are you? Oh, I'm doing great. What about you? Everything's okay with me. Do you want a table or a booth? I'd like a booth, please. All right. I'll assign a server to you, and I'll get a few things done in the back before coming over to sit with you so we can catch up. All right. That sounds good. Oh, also, speaking of assigning me a server, could you let me have Melissa as a server? Melissa? Yeah, the blonde, thin, tall woman that works here. She's my sister-in-law, and I figured that I could maybe help her earn some money by tipping her well. Okay, this may be a little awkward, but Melissa doesn't work here anymore. What? What do you mean? She leaves her kids at my house every afternoon so she can go to work. I don't know what to tell you, Ruth. Melissa quit working here 3 months ago. That can't be right. Tell me you're joking. I can show you records if you want. I mean, everyone just thought that the divorce took a huge toll on her, which was why she quit. But what about her kids? How has she been providing for them when I send them back home with her? Okay, you know what? Why don't you sit in your booth while I go and talk to a few of my employees who are good friends with Melissa? Maybe they'll know a lot more than we do. Thank you. I'm so sorry that I'm asking you to do this for me, but I really am just worried for my nieces. There's no need to apologize. Let me get you your information. In the meantime, enjoy a milkshake on the house. The only thing I could sense when Riley told me that Melissa stopped working there was a loud ringing in my ear. I don't know if that was because of how angry I was or just how genuinely shocked I was. Either way, I sat in my booth, head in my hands, and just kept replaying what Riley had told me. I tried to deny what I found out because, come on, what mother would do that to her kids? But no matter how hard I tried, the information just kept playing around and round in my head. Then I began to piece together all the things I noticed that I chalked off to Melissa struggling to make ends meet. All those times that I pitied her, she was just sleeping with her ex. While her daughters struggled every single day, she just dropped them off and went to play hooky with some man. I felt so incredibly angry with Melissa and so anxious for the girls. No matter what happened, I knew for a fact that I could not let Daisy and Jasmine remain in the custody of Melissa. Melissa clearly only cared for herself and was not afraid to throw her daughters under the bus for it. Eventually, I was broken out of my thought spiral by Riley. Hey, you look frazzled. Yeah, well, I just feel an insane amount of panic. These past 3 months, Melissa's girls have been showing up at my place starving. I just thought that it was a result of Melissa struggling to make ends meet, so I never commented on it. But to find out that she hasn't been working is making me feel sick for the girls. Oh boy, you're not going to like what I found out then. But before that, did you try to reach out to her in any way right now? No, why? Okay, because if you want those girls, well, taken care of, you need to get all your evidence right. What are you talking about? I spoke to one of Melissa's shift partners. They were really close up until 3 months ago when Melissa quit. When she quit, she apparently cut all ties with everyone that worked here. But before that, she had been very open with this one girl, and she told me that Melissa reached out to one of her old boyfriends from high school. Oh no. Yeah, she reached out to him as soon as her husband asked her for a divorce, and she's been shacking up with him ever since. I remember her missing quite a few shifts and sometimes showing up really late, and she never gave me a clear reason for it. I guess this was the reason. Oh my God, the nerve of that woman, not only to string me along to take care of her kids, but also to neglect her daughters so that she can mooch off some old fling. I guess it's always the people you least expect. I need to get her kids away from her. Will you be able to provide me proof of her tardiness and quitting? Of course, anything for you. Riley left me sitting in my booth for the next half an hour while I fumed. I could not believe the audacity that Melissa had. Poor Daisy and Jasmine was suffering while she was busy trying to get in bed with her ex-boyfriend. Riley came by my table again and dropped off the proof of Melissa's letter of resignation, along with all the write-ups that she was given for being late. There were so many write-ups dating back to when she got her divorce. I asked Riley why she didn't just fire Melissa, and Riley told me that she was just sorry for Melissa, especially with her having kids and all. I thanked Riley for her help and went back home. By the time I reached back home, Daisy and Jasmine were awake. I fed them, and when they were appropriately awake, I gently asked them how Melissa had been treating them. At first, they seemed shocked that I asked, and they tried to cover for their mother. But I told them that I knew about Melissa not having a job, and I noticed how they were always hungry when they came over. Eventually, Daisy broke down and told us about how Melissa would come to pick them up from our place and drop them off back home before leaving them there again to go somewhere. She would only return the next afternoon and pick them up to drop them off at my place. They had no food at home because Melissa never had the money to go grocery shopping, so they would wait till they came over to eat as much as they could. I was beyond astounded. These poor girls had been going through so much. I held back my emotions because I didn't want them to think that I was angry at them, and instead asked them if they would be okay with staying with me and Henry. They seemed ecstatic about it, so I called Melissa and told her that the girls wanted to have a sleepover here, and she was more than happy to let them stay with me, obviously. I called Child Protective Services and informed them of what had been going on. They got in touch with the girls' father, and he told them clear as day that he wanted nothing to do with them. That left me and Henry next in line as their potential custodian. I provided CPS with all the proof I had of the girls coming over every day, including security footage of when Melissa would drop them off and pick them up from my front door. I gave them the letters that Riley had given me, and they asked Daisy and Jasmine for their statements. It didn't take long for CPS to contact Melissa and tell her about what was happening. Henry and I were given temporary custody of the girls until Melissa got her act together. Melissa was furious, and she called me to tell me as such. "You did something here, didn't you?" "I have no idea what you're talking about." "You called the CPS on me. Why would you do something like that?" "I didn't do anything." "Oh, really? Then why was I told that a relative of mine made the complaint?" "Fine, maybe I did make the complaint, but I had every right to do it. I have proven myself to be a good caregiver for both of them, something that you have not been able to do." "So you just call CPS on me for not being able to provide for my girls? Was it not enough to see me suffer through my divorce that you have to take away my only rays of light?" "Don't be overdramatic, Melissa." "I'm not being overdramatic, you freak. You took away my little girls. They are the only reason that I'm even managing to go through all my struggles." "What struggles are you talking about? Quitting your job, tossing your kids at me so I can take care of them, shacking up with your high school ex-boyfriend? Are any of these your struggles? Because let me enlighten you, none of these are problems. How? I happened to visit the diner you used to work at just to give you some moral support. Your boss told me about you quitting, and that just made everything add up. I mean, you were neglecting your precious girls for a fling. So, you were following me? What I do in my time is none of your business, and that gives you no right to make life-altering decisions for me either." "You're absolutely right. However, when your decisions begin to harm your children, that you leave in my care every single day, I am going to get involved. The girls do not deserve any of your cruelty. I have not been cruel. I only went back to my ex because he's loaded. He's spoiling me, and I was going to get him to give me more money so I could spoil my girls." Wow. I did not think you could get any more pathetic. You quit your job so you could use your ex-boyfriend for his money. All the while your daughters made do with nothing. You would have let them be that way until your fling gives you money for them, which could have been a very long time. Not once did you think about them, and that in itself is enough to prove what an unfit mother you are. You're psychotic. Give me back my girls. If you want them back, you're going to have to fight me in court. Ask your rich boyfriend to pay the lawyer fees and see me there. And just so you don't have to worry, I'll make sure the girls are always well fed and taken care of. I'll make sure to do all the duties that you failed to do as a mother. Why, bye. I was beyond happy that Melissa was angry. At least it showed me that somewhere in there she actually cared about her children. Daisy and Jasmine were actually really happy to be able to live with Harry and I. We fed them and provided them with everything they needed. We put them back in school, and they were having a great time. Melissa did end up taking us to court for stealing her kids, but I provided the court with a multitude of evidence showing how Melissa had been neglecting her girls to stay with her boyfriend. Melissa tried to argue that she was only doing it to get money, but the jury was having none of it. Eventually, they gave her visitation rights for 12 hours every weekend under supervision, while Henry and I were granted full custody of the girls. Daisy and Jasmine were actually kind of happy to be able to see their mother. I told Melissa that her visitation was only happening at our house and wherever we wanted it to happen. I did not want to risk her running away with the girls. Melissa had been very cold towards Henry and me, but that's not something we cared about. However, with every visit to the girls, she began to get a lot nicer to Henry and me. One time, she even went as far as apologizing to us for her behavior. She thanked us for providing her children with a life she probably would never have. She agreed to go to therapy, and so at least there's something more positive coming out of this. Daisy and Jasmine have decided that even if Melissa gets back on her feet, they still want to stay with me, and that's honestly okay with us. Melissa has a long way to go before she becomes fully all right, and as long as she works on herself, she'll be able to become a better person. As for Henry and I, we're doing amazing. We're happier than we ever were. And in some way, we feel like Daisy and Jasmine are our own children. And we feel great that we get to raise a family of our own. Thank you so much for listening to my story.